All right, that's where I always cut it out since I don't like the music. I gotta change that. I also saw that I have to change my Twitter name on that intro. So anyway, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another NFT Zoo stream episode. Officially, I think it's 7, but it might be, I was like 15. It was like kind of like a, different beginning. Anyway, today is very, very exciting for me personally. As you all know, and like 99% of us got into the NFT world via Top Shot, so did I. And for me, from the very beginning, the guys over at the First Mint were my main source of input, Top Shot wise, news, pack drop announcements, whatever. Like it's everything. I learned a lot from the First Mint on Top Shot, and I'm very honored. I actually, it's a funny story how it came across. I texted him a couple of months back, and then now we connected again. And I asked him if he wants to join our community stream, and of course he said yes. And I think you all know him, and we bring him on now. Welcome to the NFT Zoo stream, LG.
Yo, what's up, man? What's up, Jonas? What's up, NFT Zoo people? What's going on?
First of all, thank you for being here. You see, we're kind of a small audience still. We usually get a couple like 50 to 100 viewers, so we'll see how much will turn out to be today. I hope they're all as excited as I am.
I'm stoked to be here, man. And I just want to clear up that story that you mentioned earlier. Is that, listen, I always told people, it's like, if you want to DM me or at least me personally, it's like the absolute best spot to do that is in Discord, and that Twitter is like a challenging place because sometimes we get a lot of DMs in Twitter. So it took me a while to respond to you, mainly because there was just a lot of DMs. Like even from the last couple of days, I have like 20 DMs about POAP badges and stuff. Okay, so
I believe
it's an honor to be here, and I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier.
Look, that's not the way I meant it. You know,
I'm just saying. I just want that to be clear. You know, Jonas, that's I'm very, very keen to come on the show.
Okay, so thanks for clarifying. Anyway, I heard in the podcast with your mom actually that your first name is Luke, right?
That's right. That's right.
And if you weren't to be a girl, you were like, do I remember it?
Holy shit, man! You took notes from that?
No, I didn't. It's on my mind. What was it? The name
I don't know. I don't even remember what she said. I don't often, Jonas, I don't often think about what my name would be if I was a girl. Like it's not really something that like comes to mind very often, but I appreciate that it stuck with you.
I really enjoyed that episode of your mom. If anyone hasn't listened to it, go back and do it. It's quite fun. But it's funny because Luke, for us, the U is a very common letter or pronunciation in Germany, and I think the Americans have kind of a hard time.
Yes, and the Canadians as well, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Anybody typically, yes. Well, obviously, where you guys are, and people in France and Switzerland, a lot of the countries around you guys, are just like that sound, Luke, easy, like simple. You've met many people with that kind of pronunciation in their name, but even in Canada, where there are many Lukes spelled L-U-C, people still struggle with the name. And they just can't put it through their head that they can just say it in English too. They can just say the English version, you know, and they haven't really understood that. It's kind of like Mark, you know, the name Mark, M-A-R-K, M-A-R-C. It's the same word. It's the same name. You can say it in a different language if you want, but it's still, you can pronounce it the same way in English. And in the US, it's even worse. Like not even close. So
now everybody calls you LG, I guess.
LG is a lot easier for people, yeah, and it's a bit more of like a cool name for like doing like radio stuff or podcast stuff. So but I've never had the name LG until this year. It's like a name I gave myself just for the podcast, and now people call me LG, and it's great.
It's great. I mean, it's kind of your NFT personality, so to say. So,
Jonas, do you have any nicknames? Are you JD, JDK?
Well,
what are we calling you?
I mean, my Discord name came up, like my second name is Daniel, so I'm Jonas Daniel, and then my last name starts with K, but it's a totally German name. It also has a U in it. So
are you willing to tell us what your name is, or do you not want to be doxxed?
No, it's fine. It's Kubler, so it's like
JD Kupler is a pretty cool name, honestly. That's a pretty good name. Listen, so I've always said that people's like author name or like radio name or whatever should be like the first two initials of their name and then their last name. So for you, it should be JD Kupler. I think that's a pretty freaking good name.
Man. I can maybe let's see.
Chat, what do you think? What does the chat think? I don't know. I mean, they watch you all the time, right? So they probably know you already as Jonas. But I'm just putting it out there.
That would be a nice pronunciation,
dude. That's perfect.
So thanks for that, Matt. No, anyway, I mean, LG. I mean, I think most of our viewers know you. And probably know you pretty. Are you okay with your camera? Okay.
Yeah, it was like a little. Sometimes I move my camera around, and then it's just like. Anyways, go on. Yes.
So most of the guys here know you pretty well. What I'm interested always is a guy like you who does this. Are you doing this full time now? By the way, I always wanted to ask you. Is that your
yes? Yes, I am.
So cool. So I imagine you being on a party where many people are, they have no idea what NFTs are, and they go like, "Hey, LG, what are you doing?" So what do you
first of all, they're not going to call me LG because that's only you guys know me as LG.
Okay, then Luke, what are you doing?
They just say that nobody's here calls me Luke. People just say Luke is normal. Yeah, what's funny is that it's interesting. First of all, going to parties is like a new thing again, right? So it's not like, it's like even a year ago when I started the First Mint in January, I wasn't going to parties. I wasn't seeing very many people. So I didn't really have to like explain it, right? Yeah. But now, now, we're vaccinated, and so it's okay to have gatherings again and start to see some old friends again and reconnect. And what I find is lucky is that most people know what NFTs are now, or they know, but they don't understand, but they've seen it in the newspaper, right? They've read about it on the internet. They've seen it on Twitter. So they kind of understand. So then through me, I can just say like, hey, yeah, I have I run a media company in the NFT space, and most people will understand. And then they'll 90% of the time they'll be like, sounds cool. Like, I still don't really get it though. And then
how do you survive?
I'll try and explain to them, or I'll ask them questions. I'll just be like, what do you not understand about it? Right. And see kind of where their holdup is. Because some people can't get around the fact that it's like, it's all digital. That's a digital asset. Some people, they understand, but they just think it's stupid. Other people are really curious and just haven't had like the entry point yet. They haven't had like a community they can join to kind of start to learn. So I kind of usually like ask them where they're at.
Okay, so now imagine the knowledge about NFTs of US people, and then divided by 100, then you have the knowledge of German people about NFTs.
Oh, really? Even less in Germany.
So it's I mean, we have way less knowledge about NFTs. I mean, the general public has not yet caught up on that yet. So
okay. It's well, I'd say here either. I just think maybe I most of my friends work in some kind of like communication agency tech kind of world, so they're usually a little bit more aware of the trends, right? Like I don't have a lot of friends who are like a nurse or something like that who like would never touch NFTs kind of thing. I'm sure I have a friend who's a nurse. I'm just saying it's just like most of the people I feel like I know are kind of urban, like up to date on technology type people, let's say. So they kind of get it.
So I work in a software company, and I asked in the office, we're like 12 people, and nobody knew what an NFT was. It's like it was incredible. So that's what the overall perception is here. Still.
It's probably for the best, Jonas. It's probably for the best.
No, I told them, hey, let's get started on Top Shot, but we'll see. Nobody joins.
Shout out to Fungible John, who's in the chat, who's a nurse. Yes, I know. I think we've talked about this in Discord, John. I'm just saying we're talking specifically about the people that when I go to a party, John. Okay, so you're not there.
Oh, and we also have your brother, the Refill D, in the house. Hey, Phil.
Oh yeah, Phil's around. Oh yeah,
Nice.
Phil's hanging out.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, Phil's good.
Cool. And so, well, we all know you do collect a lot of NBA Top Shot, and I guess that was also your entry point to the NFT world, like almost
No,
for no, it
no,
wasn't.
it wasn't.
Cool.
No.
Then let's hear the story.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of like, kind of related to your last question about how my friends react. So way like what I was doing before the pandemic is I was working in the content world. I was running a shop here, a video shop here in Vancouver. Or I used to live in Vancouver, but on the West Coast in Canada, where we'd make like TV commercials and stuff. Cool. And obviously, when the pandemic hit, that went to shit because it was like weren't allowed. We had to cancel every shoot for the summer, and it was just like we were totally screwed because all the big brands pulled back their marketing budgets and they're like, we don't have time to go shoot commercials. And prior to that, like 10 or 12 years ago, like I started in like the social media space before like social media became like this big brand thing. Like I helped kind of lay the seeds of that for a lot of big brands in North America in terms of kind of developing their Facebook page. If you can imagine a time when brands didn't know how to use Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, which now they all have this presence, all this funny stuff that they do. But now back then, like in like 2009, like they didn't understand any of it. And forward to the pandemic and the summer of 2020, where I didn't have any work and I was kind of looking for something new to do and maybe a bit of a career refresh. I started looking to crypto. I had a lot of friends who worked in crypto who had been like telling me I should get in for a long time and make content. And so I started to poke around. And then after like a month or two, I found NFTs and I was like, wow, this seems to me like it's a place that a lot of brands and companies would be able to have a lot of fun in crypto. Most of crypto is not very approachable, right? Like DeFi, all that kind of stuff is not really something like the average person really wants to interact with. Like how often do you go to a party and talk to your friends about banking, right? Like not very often. And DeFi and Ethereum is just largely like a revolution on banking, but inevitably it's still mainly about financial products. And then when I found NFTs and I saw that there was like CryptoKitties and the Sandbox and all these other like actually interesting like pieces of artwork and ownership, that immediately like clicked for me. And then I found Top Shot after that. Oh. And Top Shot, I realized I was like, oh, there's already a giant brand that's here. Like the NBA is already invested. So that's when I found Top Shot. It was like September last year. That actually made me feel like I was late. I was like, oh shit, like I'm actually late to the party because the NBA is already here and I haven't heard about this, right? So that kind of like that. Then I went full force into it and I bought, like I started buying a lot of Top Shot, but then I bought a lot of like the Sandbox and Axie Infinity and a lot of other projects that nobody's heard of because those are two that people have heard about. I bought a lot of other shit that no one cares about as you do in NFTs. So yeah, that's kind of my story, man. Like Top Shot was one of the first, but it wasn't the only one. Let's say that was my intro.
But it's still your favorite, you would say?
My favorite?
Your favorite NFT project? Like,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can play favorites. I mean, obviously we have a massive community here and we've all kind of met each other through Top Shot. So in terms of the impact that Top Shot has had on my life and on the community, absolutely it's at the top. Yeah. In terms of my favorite, I don't know about that, man. I think for a long time, I really thought that the ENS domains, and I know it's cheesy to say that because they just had their big token drop a couple weeks ago, but I really think that that's a really tremendous project that has a lot of that's true. A really big future. So I'd say that's up there, but I inevitably Top Shot still has a very big place in my heart. Let's put it that way.
But you always been a basketball fan, right? Or is that something also came through Top Shot?
Yes and no. I mean, listen, man, I grew up in Toronto, so as a Raptors fan, it's been it's been an interesting 25 years or 26 years now of basketball where, we had the great Vince Carter days, and then in the Chris Bosh days and after that, there were some really dark days there as a Raptors fan. And during that time, I was also a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, which also had some really dark days at the time. In the hockey world. So it wasn't like there's a few years where I didn't really watch too much NBA. And it wasn't until probably when the Raptors turned it around in 2013 and got good again and had that series against the Nets where they lost in 7 games to like the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce Nets. It wasn't until that year, I think, where they kind of actually won the division that I got interested again, with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. So since then, that's been like 8 years, right? And that was a wonderful kind of, 6 years there leading up to the championship. But I'd say that's when I got like way more intensely back into basketball. It was like the Raptors kind of brought me back in. And that was around the time that Steph Curry was becoming a household name, and basketball was starting to change significantly into a bit more of a shooting game again. And so
yeah, I mean, for me also, like in Germany, the NBA was not well. I was born in '92, so it was around the time Dirk came on with me growing up. So the real hype was 2011, obviously, when Dirk won the championship, and then he was kind of like a national hero here in the sports.
But actually, I'm curious about that, Jonas. Like, so how do the different players like rank in the echelon of like first of all in like German sports? Like where does Dirk rank against other like well-known like soccer players or football players or other national athletes?
Well, maybe that's my opinion now to everybody, every German now who can't wait to see what I have to say. Well, soccer is always the biggest thing here by far.
Of course.
Soccer above everything. Basketball, volleyball, it's all secondary. And so I would say there are a lot very popular soccer players, which kind of like real high up there. But when Dirk won the championship, it was kind of a buzz for a couple of years at least, or a couple of months, because we all knew he was basically the best guy in an American league back then, which made us proud, I guess. And so like you said, Dirk is still pretty huge over here. Although I also believe, like especially around Texas and stuff, he's even bigger, like in the US.
He is, he's
kind of like a big deal. But and then that's a good point here. Michael Schumacher, obviously, Formula 101 driver, probably one of the biggest.
I just watched the documentary like a month ago.
Oh, you did?
Because they have a new documentary about him on Netflix. And Phil and I used to watch a lot of Formula 1 back in the 90s and early 2000s. We'd wake up. Phil would wake me up at like 3 a.m. so we could watch whichever race was on. So I wouldn't say I was a Schumacher fan. More so because we were like, well, I mean, there was a couple of years there where Denny Villeneuve sorry, not Jacques Villeneuve. Denny was his dad. Where Jacques Villeneuve was kind of hot shit, and they had a bit of a rivalry, and Damon Hill was in the mix as well. So, and there you go. Phil's saying that I'm Sebastian Vettel's twin. So there you go.
That's hilarious.
That's the other. There's a lot of people say I look like, but there's.
That's funny. I mean, Sebastian Vettel is also a big deal here. He's really a likable guy over here as well. Like, anyways, so Schumacher was definitely someone that I watched a lot of, and that documentary really brought back a lot of great memories. I remember those David Coulthard battles in the late 90s, and it brought back a lot of good memories. That made me really sad too at the end. I wasn't really too aware of his current situation. And it sounds like a bit of a strange situation as well with his family, right? So but I mean, wish him all the best. It's too bad he had that accident, but it is what it is. It's true. But for me personally, he was also a big influence. Like I remember waking up in the middle of the night with my dad watching Formula 1 races, and
there you go.
So it's kind of sad how it turned out to be, but nobody really knows how he's doing. But he's like out of the public for 10 years now. So.
Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
I haven't watched the documentary yet. Is it worth it to watch it?
It's really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. If anything, it's just what they've done really well is they've pieced together some old interviews with him and kind of created a really cool narrative. And then they talk with pretty much all the different drivers who were his rivals at the time. Cool. So they have a lot of really, really great like interviews with like Mika Hakkinen and stuff like that, and everybody. So it's really cool just to see those guys now older talk about those days of racing, because that's obviously access that we never had. So somebody's asking me about Draisaitl. I mean, is he German? Leon Draisaitl in the NHL?
Is he?
Is he? Oh, he is. Oh, wow, that's great. So Draisaitl. So Jonas, in case you don't follow much of the NHL, basically in the NHL, the biggest name probably is Connor McDavid, who is a Canadian player, but is really like a tremendous, absolutely incredible freak of a hockey player. Probably the best player there's been in a really, really, really long time in the NHL, the best natural player. But his line mate on. He plays in the Edmonton Oilers, which is the same team that Wayne Gretzky played for.
Okay.
His line mate is Leon Draisaitl, who I guess is German. I actually didn't know that, and they are like 1 and 2 scoring in the league right now. So Draisaitl is a huge part of the Connor McDavid kind of like team and points and everything. So yeah, Leon Draisaitl, if they continue at that pace, will go down definitely as a really great NHL player.
Great, man. I have to admit, I have no clue at all from the NHL. Like seriously,
okay,
no clue
man.
at all. There's nothing there.
Just know, hey, the German team is going to have Draisaitl on it at the Olympics this year, so that's pretty good. If they
cool,
I don't know if they qualify or whatever. I know
have
the German
no
team's
idea.
like kind of good, but
No,
maybe somebody in the chat knows or Phil knows. But yeah,
I'm all into basketball, and I would watch a lot of football these days. But I have no idea from also baseball. I'm totally blank. I have no idea of baseball. But
that's okay. I mean, baseball is like kind of an international sport in like, you know, Central America, the US, like North America, and then like Asia. But I'd say hockey is like maybe, well, not more international, but at least there's probably more baseball in Germany than there is, or more hockey in Germany.
Do you watch any soccer?
No. I don't. I show up for the big tournaments. You know, I'll watch the big games at Euro Cup and World Cup. And then I'll get text updates from Phil as to how Team Canada is doing, which is usually pretty bad. And although, I mean, we have Alphonso Davies now, he's a really tremendous player. So that's, you know, so at least that's like what a good player that's come out of Canada recently. But otherwise, no. I mean, I follow the big names, right? And I follow maybe some of the drama or whatever. So, but otherwise I don't watch them. No.
Okay, well, yeah, it's but funny, it's right. I mean, so different countries, different sports. People have no idea of the other sport, but still for them, it's so huge. Are
there any sports in Germany that we don't know are popular? Like any obscure sports? Like I don't know what. Like anything? Like is bowling a big thing there, or darts or something?
Well, I don't know. What volleyball is not too bad. I would say volleyball has some kind of publicity. I mean, the chat does our director here. Ski jumping, right? Ski jumping is very filthy. Ski jumping is quite popular in the winter at least. Sky jumping? No, ski jumping. Yeah,
ski jumping. Ski jump. Yeah.
So
ski jump's a crazy sport, man. Have you ever done that?
What? No, hell no. I would be dead.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. You may say it's popular. I was like, okay, does everybody do it in
Germany?
Like, is it like a thing you do as a child? Like you have to go ski jump? Like that's crazy.
No,
that's a terrible idea.
I always wonder how these guys train. Like how do you practice that? Because at some point,
you
got to
how do you get good at that? Yeah, how do you get good at that without like dying?
I have no idea.
So that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, we're drifting off here. I kind of like that, but
I like talking about
stick a little bit. Okay, LG, let's see. What I would be interested in, I mean, everybody knows you as the NFT guy, as the Top Shot guy, from the First Mint. Tell us something maybe people don't know about you. What do you do when you don't do NFTs, when you don't do the First Mint? That's
a great question.
Sports, other hobbies? I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, that's interesting. I used to do a lot of outdoor stuff, right? Like I moved out west to like I was living in the east part of Canada before in like Montreal and Toronto. And then I moved out to the west coast of Canada about 7 or 8 years ago, mainly to do outdoor stuff. So go snowboarding. I did a lot of like backcountry camping, which is like literally just throw your backpack on and you just walk into the forest. I tried to get Phil D to, whoop, I didn't even know my phone was on.
Phil D is calling.
Somebody's calling from the east coast of Canada.
Oh boy.
You still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna turn my phone off. Somebody's calling from a place called Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. If anybody knows where that is, it's a really small town on the east coast of Canada. But Canada is so wide that it's honestly probably halfway between me and you, Jonas. Like Canada is so broad.
It's
size that it's actually like halfway to your house from my house, probably that place, but still in Canada. Fungible John said ew. Anyways, no, it's not Tim Hortons. It's not Tim Hortons. It's calling. Anyway, so I used to do a lot of like really, treacherous, let's say, outdoor camping and stuff. During the pandemic, obviously, I stopped a lot of that. I've had a lot of injuries in the last couple of years, so stopped a lot of that as well. But basically, maybe two things that I did during the pandemic that people might not expect or might expect. I've talked about some of these on Twitter. So one of the, there's there are two hobbies / skills that I took up in the pandemic that I didn't really know how to do before that now I feel like I'm pretty good at. One is I learned how to ride a motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
So, yep, I took the time in the summer, like I was saying, I had some downtime and I was like, I've always wanted to learn. I went and did like a course where they teach you, properly how to really be safe on the road. Cause I think motorcycling is a wonderful thing, but it's really dangerous. And I think often the error comes on the side of the rider who's not, practicing proper safety. So I really wanted to learn safely how to ride. It's a great skill to have for when we can travel again. Cause often you go to countries like maybe in Southeast Asia or wherever, where it's like, you're going to be able to rent like this kind of like half kind of moped motorcycle. And it's really nice to know what you're doing. So I learned how to ride a motorcycle. I got a nice like cruiser, which I recently sold, a Yamaha 650 custom V-Star, and rode around. So that's maybe something you guys don't know, is that I love motorcycle riding, and hopefully I'll get a different bike next summer.
Cool.
The other thing I learned how to do is bake. So I make really good like chocolate chip caramel cookies. And like to the point where I have like really specific like sea salts that I've been given that are like really expensive. And I've got, to the point where it's like, I don't even follow a recipe. I'm literally from scratch, like by feel, like touch the dough to know like what it's going to feel like. And like, I'm very like artisanal about it, where I'm just like sprinkled the stuff and like literally last Christmas, actually, what I did as like a Christmas gift to people is I made cookies. Damn. And my fiance like gave me this like cool packaging stuff, and I'd literally sent people like a big stack of like really nicely wrapped caramel infused chocolate chip cookies that I learned how to make really well. So yeah, so very opposite hobbies of things you might not expect about me. And it's like, and then I get on my big freaking motorcycle and like rip around, and then I get home and I bake some cookies. So that's kind of what my life is like.
It's funny. So like the opposites of being the biker guy, and then go back to the kitchen and bake cookies.
And then I pull over on the side of the road on my motorcycle, and I've literally been in a Top Shot queue while on my motorcycle. Like there's a time, I think last summer, where it's like I pulled over like in like May or June this year, where it's like I pulled over on the side of the road, took out my phone while in a queue, and bought a pack while my bike was like running under me, and then bought the pack, put the phone back in my jacket, and then rode away. Yeah, so I've literally done that.
Nice. I love it, man. Great. So can you send me a pack of those cookies? Is that too far? Is that too much?
It's definitely not too far. I haven't baked in a little while, but I could definitely hook you up, man. I could definitely hook you up.
Great. But that's maybe one positive side of the pandemic we can take away, that we all kind of learned how to find stuff we can do within the house, or even
totally. And even if you didn't, that's fine. Not every, it was, there's no pressure. Pandemic is a really traumatic thing. So there's no pressure to pick up some kind of new skill. Just for me, it took me a long time. It's not like the pandemic started and the next day I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll bake cookies and ride motorcycles. Like that took me like 6 months to start doing that. Like I did, like, listen, like everybody else when pandemic started, I just got drunk like every day. Like that's mainly what I did for like a month. And then just said like, fuck it. Like who cares? There's a disease. It was a virus. Like
cookies. Yeah. I found my love for dart. I have a dart board.
Oh, cool.
Here. Yeah, that's
nice.
Me and my fiance, we have like intense battles going on now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
And if you guys, you get decent pretty quickly. So after playing a couple of weeks,
good, man. That's a great activity for a couple to have something kind of competitive, competitive and fun that you can do together. Like I think that's probably a really big part of getting through something like the pandemic together, is finding a common activity like that. I do have one more thing that you may not know about me, and I did hint it to you earlier, Jonas, before we started chatting, is that I have been to Germany.
Oh yeah,
only once ever in my life, and it was Phil D was there, and we took, when I was like maybe 12, we took a tour of Europe. Like we went with our parents, and we're on a tour bus, and we went all over the place. So we went to Paris and London and what's the town in Austria that had the Olympics? Innsbruck. And we went there, and like we went to Italy, and like went to all like Venice, and went to all these like landmarks, but we didn't go to like Munich or anywhere else like that, like in Germany. Where we went is this small town in the south of Germany. And I always pronounce it wrong because I actually don't know how to say it properly with the right accent, but it's called Oberammergau. Do you know that place? It's like yes, you know it, right? It's like this pretty little town in the Alps. So we went there, and that was like on the itinerary to go, and we stayed in this like little chalet, like on the mountain. And that was my only experience in Germany, was being there.
That's
So
cool.
I hope to come back someday and go to like Berlin or something, right? Like I'd
That's so
love to.
cool. So
Yes, that's probably where we stayed, honestly. Like the main cottage. Like that's probably. Oh, we went to the castle, whatever that castle is in the middle. I've been there, I think, or a castle like that.
this one, this Neuschwanstein is quite famous.
The one right in the middle of your screen.
This one here.
Yeah. What is that?
That's Castle Neuschwanstein. It's called.
I feel like we went there. I don't know if Phil D's in the chat,
Probably.
but
It's quite famous. I think your parents would take you to that place if they're around that area.
But dude, that's the thing, man. I was like 12, and when you're 12 years old, you don't give a shit about castles. You don't care at all about like the cool castles or any of that kind of stuff. You mainly just care about, like, I had my Game Boy and like playing Nintendo, and that's like all I was doing. Like I was like, I don't care about being like on a tour bus and seeing a different country. Like so it was a wasted trip for me. Like it sounds very privileged to say that, like a spoiled brat, but honestly, like 12-year-olds don't like being a tourist. Like, but then there's nothing.
You also missed out on the beer then, or did you drink?
Oh yeah, there was no beer. Yeah, I didn't get any beer, man. We went to a beer hall, and I drank a giant Sprite. I had a Sprite.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Well, man,
it was really sad.
You got to come back to have some beer. So
I would love to. I would really love to come back and have like.
We had a real life meeting the other day. Our first one with like 25, 30 guys were there, or 25, really? I guess. Yeah, cool. in Bamberg. So that's why the guys are going strong with Bamberg here. And we did like a brewery tour. Took us like 15 hours. So basically the whole day and like through the whole night, we went through from brewery to brewery and had one beer. In the end, I couldn't see beer anymore, but it was quite the fun.
Oh, I see where that is. Yeah, in Bamberg. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so in Bavaria.
Beautiful country.
Yeah, man. If you ever come back, now you have some friends in Germany.
Yeah, I'd really love to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll do First Mint party in Germany.
Cool.
Sometime. Yeah.
Well, speaking of First Mint, let's get to the First Mint a little bit.
Sure.
Do you remember? And I did that out of curiosity. Do you remember what your first tweet was from the First Mint account and when it was?
It probably was. I think I started the podcast before I started the Twitter account. So I think the podcast first came out January 6th or 5th. And I think the tweet was maybe January like 10th, because I was posting it for my own personal account for a while. And I have no idea what the first tweet was. Do you know? This is like a trivia question.
I have. I have it here.
How did you find this?
I tell you, it took me like 10 minutes, but there's a trick you can do with the advanced search. So that was the first one on the 14th of January.
Wow.
It took me.
Can you send me the link to that, Jonas? I need that. Send me the link.
Of course.
Put the link in the chat or something. Dude, that's amazing. Oh yeah, well that was at the time when January 14th. Okay, so wow, it was a little later. Man, that's amazing. So that was when things were really starting to move. Because you have to understand, Jonas, is like I was in there. I started in September, right? And in September, it was like the first round of the playoffs had just finished, so they just put out the first round pack that you can see from Series 1. And you know, the pack costs like $25 or something like that, and I was able to buy like a few of them, and it was very casual, right? And it was like maybe some of the cosmics were worth like a few $1,000s, and most of the hollows were worth like $300. And even that seemed really expensive to me. I was like, you know, like I'm not spending that kind of money on this like weird digital thing that I've never heard of. That seems like a scam. And then it was like, then there was the off season in November. And November last year, dude, was fucking dead. It was like everything. Like I got like a Lace 'em Up, you know, the legendary set, Lace 'em Up. I got a pack, and I got like Brooks Lopez. I paid $230 for the pack, and I sold the Brooks Lopez for $100. That's how much it was going for. It was like just pathetic. And for a Series 1 legendary, I sold it for $100. And yeah, Dottie was there. Dude, you were there. You remember there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing going on in the off season. And then the season started up in December, and they did like a Tyler Hero promo, and it was like, okay, that's cool, Tyler Hero. And it started to pick up around Christmas time, but even then, it was still like just kind of dead. Not dead, but it was starting to pick up steam, but it wasn't really there. And then the first week of January, it started to really heat up, and Darren Ravel tweeted about it, and a few other like sports people started tweeting about it. And that's when they were putting base packs on the marketplace like openly, and those base packs were starting to sell out quickly. And by quickly, I mean it would take like 6 hours to sell like 25,000 packs. And that was like, whoa, like it was like, wow, that's really like that many people want to buy it. Wow, you know, and it was and then account values and also just the values of certain sets started to climb slowly. But like at the time, to give you context, it's like it probably around the time I started tweeting, like around the time of this tweet, I bought like a Kyrie Irving Hollow Series 1 for $1,000 US. And I thought that was crazy that I did that. I was like, I'm a madman. Like I'm a crazy person to do that. And then I think that's worth like, I don't have it anymore, but it's worth like 25 or 20 or $1,000 or something like that. There you go. Yeah. How much? What's it on now? Yeah. Scroll down to the Kyrie. There's a Series 2, and then his
here. Is it buggy again?
Oh yeah, there you go. No, yeah, go down. Yeah, on the left. Okay, so it's gone down a lot. But anyway, so that was like maybe under $1,000 at the time. So yeah, anyways, and so that tweet that you shared is like, that is when it was like, wow, things are starting to move. Like, look at that. Like these rare sets, people are buying them, right? So yeah, that was a wild time. That's so funny that so funny you pulled that up.
Why is that funny?
Well, because like also like Roham retweeted it. Like if you click on the retweets, if you look at the retweets, Top Shot and Roham retweeted it because nobody was making data like that, man. I calculated that by hand.
And that's
like, that's literally like, yeah, sorry, just to finish my thought, Jonas, like I had a spreadsheet where every day I would write down the floor price of each set. And I would count it manually or I was using Steve Veerman had Intangible Market back then. I was using that and I would manually put in the prices. And then the next day be like, oh, it's gone up 30%. Like I was doing that by hand, and putting out that data was so new that's like literally like the Top Shot account and Roham like retweeted it because nobody was putting out data like that. So yeah, that's how new that was.
It's crazy. It's funny because it has like 6 retweets. Imagine a tweet from you today which has like 6 retweets or like 29 likes.
But there's so few people back then, right? I know. So and one of these looks like it's like a fake account. Like one of these looks like it's like a person's pants, like it in one of the retweets. Anyways.
Well, anyway, yeah, but I thought it was funny. It would be funny to show to you. So I'm happy you like like it. It was a crazy time. I feel like I was like at the last second I got in. I signed up at 1st of January because my brother told me on New Year's Eve when we had a family meeting. He was like, hey, you're a basketball fan, you gotta check that out and stuff. And then I signed up on January 1st, and this is where things really got, like you said, climbing a little bit. And so I got my first Carmelo Anthony moment for $1.
Yes, I probably sold it to you, man. I was like, I sell any $1 moments. I don't care, you know. Yeah, that's it. So that was probably for me.
I was kind of lucky there, kind of a good timing. I was happy. So yeah, but let's talk a little bit. How did you come up with the first mint? Or what was the idea? What made you tweet this? Did you even think 6 people are gonna like it?
So that's a great question. I was very interested in Top Shot. I was very passionate about it, and I had decided I was still doing some freelance work here and there, but I decided I'd had enough. And in the middle of December, I shot my last commercial that I've ever shot, which was for 7-Eleven. Do you know what 7-Eleven is?
Oh yeah, we don't have it, but I do. Yeah.
You do? Okay, you don't have it though. So in here in Canada, 7-Eleven, like this, you know, they sell like Coke and gum and a bunch of chips and stuff like that, coffee. But they also sell like food, like fresh food. So they sell like pizza and like chicken wings and all this random crap. And I got hired to produce a commercial for 7-Eleven Canada about their like fried chicken wings. And I spent 18 hours in a 7-Eleven, which has a kitchen. There's a kitchen in the back of 7-Eleven, the small little kitchen, filming chicken wings. And the commercial's great. It's as typical, you know, it's like the slow motion of them being like tossed, you know, and all the spices hit them. And then it's like a guy buying them and being like, I want the chicken wings, you know, and very typical commercial. And then I couldn't get the smell of chicken out of my body, like out of my skin for like a week. Like my skin just smelled like chicken. And listen, man, working in film production is really rough. It's not a life for everybody. If you have some really long days, and when you're the producer, you're the person who tells, that tells people when they're not doing their job. So it's not, and not everybody loves you, kind of thing. Yeah. And after that, I decided, I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm getting older, and I don't know if I'm spending 18 hours in 7-Eleven is like what I want to be doing with my life for money. And I decided I wanted to make content for NFTs. And I first wanted to do fantasy sports. And I talked to Theo, who was running Swish at the time, which was like the first fantasy sports game, right? Yeah.
I played a couple of times, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really well set up. And I spoke to him, and he'd already set it all up. And I was like, let me know if I can help you. But then I realized that he was already doing it. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna. I ran a few like daily pick'ems for some people in Top Shot, for a few of the friends. Dottie, if you're still listening, you might have participated. But we did like, kind of 20 people signed up to do like and I gave a prize for whoever got the most points that day. And I did that over Christmas, and I was like, this is kind of okay. And I was talking to Usman, who was a community manager at the time. And I told him I wanted to start a podcast. And he's like, sounds good. He's like, I think a few other people are working on podcasts as well. So yeah, it was like the first week of January. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I went and got a microphone, and I sat down. It took me a long time to record and write it and everything. And I made the podcast one night, and I put it out there the next day. And people liked it. And I hoped that, I was like, maybe people, and what I had also started doing is I'd started tweeting statistics like this, being like, hey, these sets are up, or like, hey, look, this all sold out. And I noticed that like people were enjoying that. So I was like, okay, people want to have content about Top Shot on Twitter. There's no content about Top Shot on Twitter. So I'll start making some. So I made the podcast. I started tweets like this about statistics. And then like the difference from like the first week of January, me doing that, to the last week of February was just like, literally like 20 years went by, because suddenly it was like people like Dottie were like listening to a couple minutes of the podcast and be like, hey, good job, LG. That sounds cool. To then like, in February, like people were hanging on every single word we had in the podcast, where I was like, NFT gating, here's what it is. And people were like, wow, like holy shit. Or we had Whale Shark on. Right? Remember the Whale Shark episode, the #1 account on Top Shot? Everybody was like,
I do, yeah.
And he comes on, and he sounds kind of like this James Bond villain guy, where he's like, oh, here's what we do at Whale Shark. And people were like, holy shit. Like people were like, wow. I got hundreds of DMs being like, oh my God, I can't believe that there's a guy like that exists in NFTs, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars in NFTs. They're like, this is so mind blowing for me that this exists. And that was really, it was an honor to be able to bring that to people, to bring that info to people. And yeah, so so just like, but I'm saying the first week of January, I put out the podcast, and people were like, that's nice. Very good job. Like sounds very good, and then 2-3 months later, it was like blowing people's mind with what NFTs were. So it was great. It was great. And very honored to have been able to do that for the community and with the community.
Yeah. Seriously. I mean, I tell you, I'm not a big fan of notifications on my phone, and I have 2 accounts on notifications on Twitter. And that's you, and that's now, since we have a community, our own Twitter account.
Nice, awesome.
It always has been, because you guys were the guys breaking like the stress test stuff, and I don't know what. And so I always had it on. Okay, and then let's go get it, and never get it actually.
Great, man.
So yeah, that's what I always liked about it. It was really, you were the first a lot, like the first guys tweeting it, the first guys knowing it. I mean, now there are obviously a lot of resources out there.
That's great. Yeah. It's great. It's great to see so many people making content, putting out statistics and putting out commentary and stuff. I mean, that's really cool. Who's Zoo Director? Is that you, or is that somebody else?
No, that's our Zoo Director.
Oh, it's the actual Zoo Director.
No,
well, cool, man.
He's the main guy running the show in the Discord. Awesome. And he founded the Discord and stuff. So we like
shout out Zoo Director. And yes, that LeBron no look 3 moment, like that was crazy, right?
Yeah,
people were so obsessed with that, and I was too, right? And we thought that was so cool. And it's funny to look back on those days.
His name is Benjamin, by the way.
Ben. All right, Benjamin.
And by the way, Dottie is also one of our German guys. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, okay, great. Shout out.
He was the guy. He's living in Bamberg, so he was the guy organizing all the beer tasting stuff. So
no way. Well, I mean, he's an OG, man. I remember him
strong on the class, I would say.
Oh really? Wow. Okay. Didn't know. Dottie likes to drink. Well, good to know.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I also know that you studied broadcasting, actually, which is kind of fitting now, but I think back then, well, video producing, broadcasting also had in common, but maybe that's also now you really are where you belong, so to say. With your
I mean, for a long time, you know, I have had this voice since I was like 13, and I would call people on the telephone and talk to them like this, and people would think that I was a man. And when I was 13, I was not a man. Like, I only became a man like a couple years ago. Like, I only feel now like an adult like recently. You know, but when I was like a young teenager, like I sounded like this, and people were like freaked out when they saw me, because they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're like a child," and I'd be like, "Yes, but hello," you know. And then I went to broadcast school, not to be on TV or on radio or anything like that, like to learn how to shoot and stuff like that, and learn how to write stories. And but even then, people were like, "Oh, you know," actually, one of my first days of school, university, one of the professors told me that I had a face for radio. And it took me a long time to realize that that was a joke and an insult, because having a face for radio means that nobody ever sees you. So it took me a long time to figure that one out. But no, and then for a long time, people were like, "Oh, you should be a radio show, blah, 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 blah." And I tried different stuff, and nothing ever took off. So I feel like I'm very fortunate and very lucky to finally be able to put the voice to good use. You know, and that it was like, when I started the podcast, I was like, "Oh, fine." And people were like, "Oh, I love this. And I love your voice." I was like, "Oh, okay. Finally, like after years, like I finally get to do something with that." Right. So it's
nice. Cool. Like I drive a lot to do my job and stuff. And so I sit a lot of time in the car, and I have to tell you, there are some podcasts out there I can't listen to because of the guy talking, or the audio quality, or his voice, or his just talking style. So it is kind of a gift for you to have that voice. It's cool.
It is a gift. That's it. Yeah. It's not, it's you know, there's a few things like I don't know, like doing statistics or writing and stuff like that is like a skill, but this is absolutely like a talent that I am very happy to finally use, because it's something that's natural and is a gift. Absolutely. And it's something I try to really not take for granted.
Speaking of the podcast, I mean, you had a lot of exciting guests also on here on your pod. I was wondering, when you prepare for a podcast, because I also have to prepare for these interviews a little bit. Like, how much time goes into a podcast episode, and how's your like prepare process behind that?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I just want to comment on what your director said about staying away from whiskey and cigars. I used to be heavy into both.
And you used to be.
Oh yeah, I lived in Montreal for 6 years in my 20s, and that's you go pretty hard, but it's that's what you do in Montreal. You have a good time. So now I'm more healthy West Coast kind of person. So
yeah, that's also a good comment here. It's true, kind of. I remember the days.
Okay, Phil ignored me telling him to get into Top Shot for months. I was like, "You got to get into Top Shot." He's like, "I don't know," and just missed out on like a king's ransom of money for sure by ignoring me. So now Phil listens apparently. Now. Yeah, when I tell Phil to sign up for something now, he does it. So yeah, that's where the voice comes from. That's a good point. Yeah, it's like, yeah, when I was 19, yeah, you're right. I never sounded like this until all the whiskey and cigars. That's what they did this to me. So how do I prepare for a podcast? So that's a great question. The process of a podcast starts months before you hear it, mainly conceptually. Like I very much in my career in creating content and creating online content, something we had to get really good at, or I had to get really good at, is coming up with original ideas and original takes on certain concepts. So, and a lot of ways to present that information. So something like, I don't know, like even the show we put out today, the podcast today, called Burn the Moments, right? It's like talking about burning moments and talking about reducing supply, which is the main focus of the podcast. And we have Justin Herzing from On the Moment on, is like something that obviously I've been thinking about for a long time. And I've been talking to people in the community about it for a long time. So that has been on my list of potential topics for months. And what I'll do is I'll you know, kind of just have a bucket of different ideas that kind of percolate over time. And then when it feels like the moment is right, I'll kind of call that one up, take it, expand it into like a full page of notes of my personal thoughts, ask other people what they think. And then from there, see if we should find a guest or not. And If we have a guest, then I'll probably prepare a few pages of notes of questions to ask them and areas we could go with the conversation. If there is no guest and it's just an LG talking to himself for 30 minutes, what I'll do is I'll do the exact same kind of thing, but prepare it a bit more like a script of what I'm going to say. And then preparing the script and being ready gives me the time to then kind of put a bit more emotion into it so that I already know what I'm going to say and I can kind of follow along, but otherwise I can kind of really speak from my own personal feelings. And yeah, so that process obviously takes a long time. The actual process of like sitting down, writing, recording, we use our editor sometimes for interviews, but sometimes if it's late at night, I do it myself. Doing all that. And now we've got Ghosted Greg Oden and Zach, who helps with a lot of the kind of management of that whole process. But at least a couple hours, I would say, and especially in the early days, it took me a really long time to make those podcasts. But I find that usually the more time I put into the writing, the better the podcast is.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, it shows there's not like stuttering or so it sounds.
I wish I had the outtakes. I thought about that. I don't have them recorded, but I wish I had like all the times that it's like, the start where I'm like, what's up, everybody? It's LG Doucet here. Like the times that I have messed that up, I wish I had all the outtakes of just from like where I'm just like, today is November. Fuck.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's LG Doucet here today. Just like, and then I just do it so many times.
Oh man!
Or I want to remind everybody here that nothing constitutes.
It's training wise.
Mess it up so many times. So it takes a while sometimes.
I think you got it now. I think it's pretty good.
I still mess it up a lot, man. I still don't get it quite right, but it gets better.
Cool. But it's good to know. What I do usually is, I mean, for us, it's kind of tough to get people in here. Although we had some big names now with you, and we have Seneca. You know Seneca probably.
Yeah, of course, it's great.
And then we have some other projects. So it's getting better. If you have one of those big guys, then you can use them as a reference, and then people say, "Hey, oh wow, LG was there. Let's get to the stream."
For sure. and what I'll say about the content as well, and it seems like you're on this path as well, Jonas, is that like choosing those topics to me needs to hit like 2 or 3 points on the checklist. One, it has to feel like it's something that's relatively current for people, as in something that people have heard about. So I'm not going to start talking about DAOs unless people are talking about DAOs, and because I want it to be relevant. And that goes into the second point, which is I look at every single thing that we do at the First Mint not as, hey, how can we make a great show or make money or have a big audience. I look at every single thing that we do as what can we give to our community. And even if that's on a really small scale of like, hey, here's an interesting viewpoint. Here's a really fun experience on the live show with me and Phil. Here's a festival. Here's a tweet that'll help people. We mainly look, and I try and get everybody to do this who works at the First Mint to like, what are we doing for the community? Because that in Web3, that has such tremendous returns for us that if we mainly focus on what we can give to people, then that'll work really well for us. So even early on, like you pulled up that tweet, it was like, okay, we want statistics. People need statistics. They want to know what's skyrocketing right now and what hasn't yet. So let's give them that. Right. Yeah. So the value aspect to me is so important of in there. And I know that a lot of people are like, sometimes they're like, please tell me what to buy or introduce me to this person or whatever. And that's our main focus.
Yeah. I love it. It's a good.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing the same thing as well, right? Like creating community and finding more ways to do stuff for it.
Yeah, it's true. What we are doing or I'm doing, I try to focus on what our small community wants. And I know that there are a ton of Top Shot guys in there. So that's why one of the bigger Top Shot guys was always on the list. And now it's turned out to be the biggest, or you. So it's great. But that's a good point you make. We don't do it for the fame. I don't do it for the fame because you see it gets me a couple, 100 viewers or so. It's not for the money. In the end, it's for me personally to get people to know. I love just to connect to a guy in Canada, to a guy in Australia. That's what it makes it fun. And then how he's, like you said,
absolutely. And well, that's it. And it's not, I read in a book once that it's like, if you can chase wisdom or you can chase wealth. And if you chase wealth, it'll be challenging for wisdom to follow. But if you chase wisdom, wealth will get very jealous and follow. And that's something that I try and do. I know it sounds way more profound
That's
than
so poetic.
most of the things we do at the First Mint. I don't remember where I read that, but I remember that was so valuable. And I was like, yes, okay. So that's the part where you're like, should we do this because it's going to make us money? Like we do a lot of sponsorships now and partnerships. So that's very important. Obviously, we need to be supported. Like we don't have any funding. So that's like really valuable to be doing. Like last week we did the Matrix and we did Flow Fest and First Mint Fest as well. And we were very, very fortunate. A lot of those brands wanted to partner with us and support us. But inevitably, our pitch to them is always like, what can people be learning? How are we introducing new great things to the community? What are we giving to the community in terms of knowledge and wisdom and all that kind of stuff? And then by doing that, it brings a lot of people over to our mission, which is to make, like, honestly, to me, the mission is to make Web3 an accessible point for everybody, to make crypto for everybody, really.
Yeah, I think we're on a good path to that. It would be great if you can First Mint as well. So I gotta point out. No, but in all seriousness, that's a great thought. I totally agree. I mean, we have already an hour. Do you have still some time? I usually
I have a bit more time. Yeah, if you had, I saw a couple questions in the chat, and I think you had some trivia for me as well.
Exactly. We do have some Top Shot stuff. So before we get into the Top Shot question in the chat, well, do you want to? You really want to?
Matt, do I consider any specific type of moment undervalued? Yes. Well, yes and no. So there's two things I'll say, and I've talked about this a lot recently. The first one is I think owning a complete set is really important. Last week, I finished a set I'd been chasing for a really long time, and I had to sell a lot of stuff to get there. Was Series 1 Finals rare set. So, oh yeah, there you go. You're already on it. So you see it shows up now at the top. So the rare set from the finals. So that's something I'd been, just to give you context on, I had this set complete a long time ago. The day that set dropped, I bought 14 packs because you could just buy packs easily then. So again, very privileged. But I'd sold a lot of stuff, but I'd held on to the most valuable ones. So I already had the LeBron and the Anthony Davis and the Jimmy Butler for a long time. So I needed like $1,500 to pretty much buy everything else. And that's because I really think that holding complete sets is going to be really important. Like we saw last week with Fresh Threads, they said, great, if you have a rare set, you're getting 3 packs for free. If you have a Seeing Star set, you're getting 1 pack for free. So that to me, like, signals that, like, obviously collector score is important. Team sets are important as well, as we've seen, and also complete sets are important. So I think there are certain types of sets like that are undervalued. I think potentially even the cheapest rare sets, which are WNBA Run It Back, and then there were 4, which is also a fantastic set. That those potentially are undervalued if you think that rare set, holding a complete rare set, will be important in the future. So yes, I'd say that. And I would also say that something, and even I ignored this because I sold some metallic gold stuff last week, like the core sets. And that's something that's a narrative that'll come back around one day, is that base set, metallic, and hollow are in the long-term run of Top Shot more important than the others, because they're the only sets with the team logos, as you can see there for DeAndre Ayton and Seth Curry. They're the only sets with the actual team logos on them. And I think that those down the road will be very important. Should you go get them now? No, I don't think so. I think they still have more. They can still go further down now than they are in price.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's also interesting how the perspective changed. Like, would you have said that 6 months ago? Probably not, because we know, like, we learned so much about it with collector scores, sets, getting like. It's
well, like I said, man, I'm always learning. So it's just like something when they did Fresh Threads last week and they're like, hey, listen, if you own these sets or a complete set of Legendary, you get 5 packs. I was like, oh shit, really? Okay, I'm gonna finish a rare set as soon as I can. Like I'm still learning, man. Like I don't know all this kind of stuff. Oh, you've got the gift. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do get the gift, and I also finished Fresh Thread just today. I'm not the biggest guy, you see, as you see, but
so that's okay, man. You're still doing it. See, I think that's really valuable to do that.
I know, I love it. I would never sell it so far. Like,
yeah, and it looks good, feels good.
It feels really good. Yeah,
collecting should still kind of make
it's also memory. Happy. It's a memory. It was a fun time back then. So
the gift was fun. The old gift.
Seriously. So I have, like you said, I have some trivia for you, some top trivia.
Please,
it's like 3 questions. Should be pretty easy. We'll see. For you. And the first thing is, do you know, and this should be very easy, I mean, what's the most expensive rare moment right now on Top Shot?
The most expensive rare moment.
Come on,
Do
Angel.
challenge rewards count?
They do.
I mean, I would say maybe like the LeBron metallic gold would be up there. But it's probably not the top. It might be like a challenge reward from somebody in Series 1. Who's it gonna be?
There's one where was a hype this week around.
There was a lot of hype this week around that one.
There was one around that moment. There was a little bit of a hype earlier last week, Friday, about that rare moment. Yeah, our show director got it right.
I'm not even looking at the chat. Oh, yeah, of course. I have that one.
You read the story
That's
about
the most expensive rare one, really?
Yeah, it is. Followed by the LeBron James.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I was pretty close. Yes.
I think there was still earlier tweet that someone sent it to KD's account when he got like X amount of retweets, and then he did send it. Yeah,
Stack sent him over that one. Yeah.
Okay. They get a little bit tougher now.
Fuck. Okay.
We'll see. Okay, so since are you Canadian at all? Are you?
I am.
You are Canadian, right? I thought because your family is living in the US still, right?
No,
okay.
We're all Canadian.
I got that wrong. I'm sorry.
Wrong
so, but then you should know it even better. What's the most expensive Canadian player on Top Shot right now?
Like the top moment that's most expensive?
Yeah. Who's the guy who has the most expensive Canadian moment?
I know the Steve Nash run it back was very expensive for a long time. The Vince Carter Cosmic is probably up there. That's probably, or no, sorry, Vince Carter's not Canadian. I was thinking about Raptors players. I don't know why I thought Vince Carter. Steve Nash, yeah, $4,000. That seems like he's not going to be there. I feel like, are there any Cosmic, like a Shea Gilgeous Alexander? Does he have any rare moments in there? If not, probably an RJ Barrett Cosmic if he has one, or hollow.
Right. So RJ,
let's see.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say how much is his going? Oh wow, no, he doesn't have a legendary.
No, wait. I was.
Oh no, you're on rare. That's why. Yeah.
He does it in legendary.
Oh yeah, so he doesn't have a Cosmic. He has the hollow. Yeah.
He has the hollow, exactly. So that's the most expensive Canadian player.
Hey, there you go. Okay, there you go.
Good. I mean, good, nice. Okay, and then since we're in German stream, last one. Can you name all of the German NBA players on NBA Top Shot? And I tell you, there are 7.
Okay, Maxi.
And the 7th is we can argue about the 7th, but there are 6 for sure.
Dirk, Dennis Schroeder, Daniel Tice.
Yes.
Fuck, I don't know. I probably don't know the other 3.
I've also have to think now.
I feel like we spoke about them earlier. No, we talked about Leon Draisaitl. There's another player that is isn't there like isn't it like Carlos Boozer or something like that's German, or somebody like that? There's some random player like that's German. But I don't know the other 3.
Boozer is not, but there's one guy
thinking about
whose brother just joined the NBA this year. So there are 2 brothers now playing one in Orlando and the other one as well in Orlando. No? Okay. I gave you.
Well, there's isn't Isaiah Hartenstein?
Yeah, nice. That's actually
he's on there.
He's on there.
I don't know the other ones.
Okay, we have Moritz Wagner.
Who's on our? Oh yeah, of course.
And then there's one random guy. Maybe you meant Bonga. He doesn't sound German at all, but he is German. Isaac Bonga.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I did know that.
And then did we miss one? I think that was 7. So nice.
Dude, Carlos Boozer is born in fucking Germany.
He's born, but he's not German.
It says nationality German/American. I don't. Hold on. We got to go to his Wikipedia.
Is he? I don't know. Is someone?
Hold on. Let's go take a look. I gotta see this.
Sounds maybe, but
yeah. I mean, he played for Team USA, so this doesn't really count. That's fair. Anyways, well, at least I was partially right on Boozer.
Seriously, I mean,
I don't think. Does he have a moment? Does he actually have a moment? No, he doesn't have a moment.
Boozer doesn't. No.
No. Okay.
No. Cool. Nice. Good one.
Great questions.
that's with the question you maybe have to think about. But there's one other thing I want to ask: is do you remember your first ever moment you bought? Ever? The first one you clicked buy and then you were proud?
It's like I think it's like Markel Fultz or something like that.
Okay, so nothing special, like nothing special.
No, I bought a bunch of $1 moments on my first day. I think I bought like a Kyle Lowry, Markel Fultz, whoever else I had in fantasy that I thought was good.
Cool.
Who had like a good year the prior year.
People are saying Shaq was also born in Germany. I didn't know that. I don't know if he's kidding.
Is that true?
Oh, and we did forget one, and that was Maxi Kleber.
I said him at the start.
I'm sorry.
Even while you were asking the question, I said Maxi Kleber.
Sorry. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Cool. Well, I have two more questions. Okay, and then I let you go.
That's all good.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. I mean, we have some exciting buzz going on right now about NFL all day, and I find it fascinating how people always now think that the NFL all day will be exactly the same as Top Shot. Then a lot of people think that it will go like bonkers, and then I don't know. People they want to make a lot of money out of it now.
Yeah.
I think that Dapper and also the community learned a lot from the Top Shot experience, and that it will be a lot of different than what we saw with Top Shot. So I would be interested. I mean, we both sold our Cool Cats 9DAF launch access, so we both hope we get access, or I don't know if you get early access or not. We'll see about that. But what's your take on NFL all day? Are you already thinking about strategies you're going to collect? Are you even collecting?
Okay, a couple things. One, I'm not a big NFL fan. Okay. And if you listen to the show, I've talked about this a couple times on the live show, and it's kind of like a funny thing that we do, but how I used to watch a lot of NFL and I stopped 10 years ago. So I still think that the same players who played 10 years ago play now. And some of them do, like Tom Brady, like plays still now, which is incredible because he's like 44 years old. But I was like, where's Brett Favre? And people were like, no, that's over. And so yeah. So there's a lot of re-education for me on the NFL about like half the guys who tweeted about it last week. I was like, I don't know who that is. But I'm sure they're very good. So it's a lot of coming back. So that's one really interesting thing, just personally for me, just so you know, is that I'm unaware. Two is, I think if you don't follow the NFL very much, or maybe if you don't live in the US, you may underestimate how popular the NFL is. Yeah. Like it's like the hierarchy of sports in North America is like, or in the US is like football, basketball, probably like baseball, and then like a mix of hockey and NASCAR and maybe a few other random sports like golf and stuff like that, right? Tennis. Yeah. But the gap between the NFL and the NBA in terms of popularity is gigantic. And it's also because America is a football culture place. Like college football is bigger probably than the NBA as well. Yeah. So it's a really big deal. And that is going to bring in a lot of new people who don't know or care about Top Shot, right? So we're thinking like, hey, it's going to be the same thing, but we're going to be doing the same thing we do in Top Shot, but for the NFL, and it's not that at all. And I think if we also think from a platform standpoint that like NFL is going to launch this week, and next week we're just going to have a marketplace where we buy and sell and trade legendaries and we open these packs, stuff like that, like that's not going to happen. I think it's going to take a long time for it to be at the functional level where Top Shot is. I think it's going to be a slow drip of like, some people get early access. They get to open some common packs that are probably not moments where that, like they're probably moments that everyone else is going to get access to later anyways. Maybe they'll get low serials, but that's it. They're going to get to open common packs, maybe look at them, maybe trade them, probably not sell them for a long time. And I think like there's not very much NFL season left. So I think you do a soft launch. If you're Dapper, you do like a little soft launch, closed beta to end the season, get people hyped up. Then you spend the entire off season preparing, learning, improving the platform. And then you do a huge launch in like August before the season starts. Like I think if you're Dapper in the NFL, that's the way you should play it. And yeah, I would just be ready for it to be different than what you might think.
Okay.
From an access standpoint, I'm sure the Cool Cats people will get in first because they have to, but I think a lot of other people are also going to get access at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, if they look at Dapper wallets and stuff, then we should also be good. Like
hopefully, yeah. I mean, I also don't think that early access means you're going to be rich. I think that's ridiculous to think that.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. That's what I mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous to think that your early access means that everybody who has early access gets to buy all the cosmics of the NFL, and then they get moments that are worth like millions of dollars. Like, I think that would be suicide for Dapper to do that, because you would lose so many fans doing that way, because people would be so mad.
Yeah, and what's also like maybe interesting is the NFL from a player standpoint. The fluctuation, is that an English word? Like, there are a lot more players which are in, and the next year they're totally out. So the whole dynamic of like the whole dynamic of the teams and stuff is totally different than a Top Shot.
Exactly.
Usually an NBA player sticks around for at least like a couple of years, and so I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I'm curious how that turns out, how they handle it. Are they
where it's not unnatural for an NFL player to be retired by the time they're 29 or 30. That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Right. To be at the peak of their game for 4 or 5 years, and then for it to be that, because it's an incredibly punishing sport to play football.
And I mean, imagine rookie drops in NFL. We have like, how many rookies do they have? 250 or something? I don't
tons. Yeah, that's it. So we'll see. I think it's really interesting to see how they're going to release supply and what that's going to look like. Yeah. But I'm keeping a really open mind, and I think for anybody who's really excited about it, it's like my advice is to just be patient with what they're going to do, and be curious, and not to not set your expectations really low so that you're not too disappointed.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Here's one of our guys selling his cool cat said, if you're still looking for
me, I'm good. I'm all right, man. I don't think we need it.
For me also. Hey, there was so much more we could talk about. I mean, we didn't even come to the Flow Fest. Anything you want to share on the Dapper and Flow side? I mean, Flow Fest just wrapped up. I enjoyed it for at least the part I could watch, because a lot was in the middle of the night for us. So it's kind of rough. Okay. But I tuned in. Anything?
Yeah, that's great. No, I mean, that was we're really happy to partner with them. And, a couple months before that, we had done First Mint Fest, which I think helped inspire that a little bit for Flow Fest, and hope to do more in the future. So hopefully there's more either Flow Fest or First Mint Fest coming in 2022.
Okay, cool. And then as a final thought, maybe, I know you have a tradition with your guests you do on the pod, right? Do you know what I mean?
Would you rather? Yeah, of course.
Would you rather question. So I thought, let's do it.
Please do.
Would you rather question. So I listened to a couple from you, and they were all kind of complicated, and a lot of them were complex. So mine is really complex. So I have one would you rather question for you, and the thing is, would you rather have your Top Shot account suspended but continue the First Mint while getting your own First Mint moment set, which with like moments you choose, or would you have your First Mint account and content deleted, but you're still able to be a collector on Top Shot, and you pick your 5 favorite moments and you play pickup ball with those guys?
The first one.
The first one?
The first one, man. Although I don't know, I'd love to see moments of me in Top Shot and see if people actually want to buy that, because I'm not the greatest basketball player.
So
that'd be a train wreck, honestly. So I'd love to see that in a moment.
Awesome. Yeah, I tried to come up with that for quite a while. I hope.
Okay, yeah, that's good. It's a good question.
Cool. Awesome. Luke, Luke, actually.
JD.
JD. I have to think of that.
JD.
No, seriously, it was a pleasure. I mean, we could talk forever, I feel. People obviously also enjoying it. I hope we see each other again at some point.
Of course, man. Well, hopefully I'll come to Germany sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hook me up. I mean, we can. I can get you one of the best.
Get drunk. Get drunk with Dottie. Line up the shots.
Oh yeah, he would enjoy it. No, but seriously, I wish you all the best for the First Mint stuff.
Thanks,
I will,
man.
For sure, keep following you guys. And
of course, appreciate you and appreciate your community, man. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. And then I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Good day. Bye, man. Cool. Also, so that's it, guys. I mean, you saw we can talk like forever with AG. He's just really a nice guy and quite exciting to talk to. And the voice is just still incredible. I hope you enjoyed it. There was a lot of more I wanted to ask, but obviously the time is always I want to stick around like an hour or so. So yeah, I mean, that's it for this year, actually, with the stream. LG was sort of like I said in the announcement, the year started with LG tweet and the year ends with an LG stream for us. And and so that's it for this year. I'm preparing some new guests for the new year, but I'm taking some time off now, Christmas time, family time, and stuff. And you guys should too, probably. Yeah, and thank you so much. This year has been incredible for streaming wise. I couldn't imagine that anybody's watching this at any time, and now I have always like 50 people watching, which is just awesome. I hope we can continue with that in the new year, and I'm happy for input and ideas. Just DM me. Just don't DM me on Twitter. Use Discord. And no, in all seriousness, I enjoyed it. Like, have a great Christmas and a happy New Year's Eve, and I see you all fresh here in January with hopefully more exciting guests. And yeah, talk to you in the NFT zoo, obviously. Have a great time, everybody. See you soon.